Welcome to the Intimate Marriage Podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra Stockwell. I'm a physician and an intimate marriage expert, and I specialize in showing educated, successful couples how to have incredible, passionate relationships. I've been married for 25 years. My husband and I have 4 children and full professional lives, and we've created an amazing relationship. If you want to deepen your understanding of your own relationship and learn to access new heights of emotional, sensual, and erotic intimacy, you're in the right place. I will show you how. Now, let's dive in. And today we are going to dive into the realm of intimate marriage, collaboration, success, evolving visions and dreams with Jonathan and Sascha Schlossberg. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Sascha was very inspired by your opening.
Oh, really?
No.
What in particular?
I was wiggling my eyebrows at him when you were saying like intimacy, which he responded by trying to poke me in the privates with it. So,
well, I just figured I would be getting lucky after this podcast.
Okay, well, I think that all depends where we go. And either way, you two are the only ones who are going to know if that happens. But I want to paint the scene. I know the two of you from a mastermind, and when you joined, you totally caught my attention because there's something like disciplined and chaotic, sparkly and winging it. That's the energy. And I would love for the two of you to share how you met and what has the journey been like as you have evolved to becoming parents and business partners.
All right. Do you want to go?
I feel like that I love the 4 words you used to describe us. It's very, sparkly and chaotic, winging it and disciplined. We met waiting tables in Hollywood, corner of Hollywood and Vine. We're both actors, but acting is quite unstable as far as the income piece goes. So fast forward a few years, but once we were actually together, we decided to become online entrepreneurs. So we had a way that we were more in control of making money that was also more fun and creative. And then we also had a whole bunch of kids at the same time. So like planned, yes, and also always chaotic.
And I cannot believe how nutshelled you just went on that. I mean, you left out all, like, we used to work, like we would take each other from one restaurant to another. We really enjoyed working with each other. And then at one point we were like involved in getting into our real estate license and very quickly realized it was not for us and fell into network marketing. There was a casting director I wanted to see. And I was like, you want to go to this thing, thinking she's going to say absolutely not. And she's like, yes, as long as you're okay with us doing this. And I was like, whoa, this woman is pretty awesome. So we went, fell into that, a whole long story, which brought us into the online world when she got pregnant with our first. And she lost her job like the week we found out she was pregnant.
I had a new job managing a restaurant. So I mean, we've also had lots of trial by fire through all of it as well.
Yeah, it's been a very unique, like if you were to say to me at the beginning of it, this is what your journey is going to look like. Or if you were going to say, looking back, can you believe that you ended up here? There's no way I could put those two things together because there's no path. It just, everything led to the next thing. And that's a little general. But I think that makes
Steve Jobs has that quote that I don't have it verbatim, but something along the lines of, you really can't connect the dots except in hindsight when all of the different moments along the journey suddenly make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with that entirely.
Okay, so have you always worked together? Have you ever been in relationship without working together?
We have not.
No, I think there's been like a 3-month period since we knew each other that we didn't work together, but otherwise, yes.
And true, there was a point where I was working at a restaurant and waiting tables and acting, and you were working somewhere else.
Yeah.
But for the most part, 99% of our relationship and 100% of our marriage has been us together.
But
24/7, 7 days a week.
But we've worked together in different ways. In the beginning, we were the top 2 salespeople at the restaurant. So we would get paired together for all of the fancy events. But he was the top one. I would try to beat him, but he had a lot more experience than me. So I learned, like, I worked 2 jobs. So from the things he taught me, I was able to only work 1 job. And then we worked, when we got into internet marketing, first it was like both of us doing all the same things. And then it became more like he would learn one set of skills and I would learn another one. And then once we had kids, it became, I was more behind the scenes running strategy while he was doing all the forward facing sales and SEO work and running ads. And then in the next version of it, then it was like, well, no, I'm the CEO and he runs ops. Like, so even our roles within who's in charge have constantly shifted as well.
It's a constant evolution for sure in the way that we work together. And we realized very quickly too, that our skill sets they don't mirror each other, but they complement each other. So it really overlaps and lessens the weak spots.
Yeah.
So that it covers such a wide variety, where I'm more systems, 30,000 foot view and finding what's wrong, where you don't agree with that? She's strategy, but I can look at something and point out where something needs to be fixed. She's not going to agree with me.
No, I think it's funny though I would have said I'm the one who takes the 30,000 foot view.
Cool. We're on the same page.
Okay,
right
this is such a perfect setup for the question I've been wanting to ask. Talk to me about competition. Are you in competition with one another?
I mean, I'm pretty sure the day I beat him in a board game, I don't even know, like, are you even prepared? I've never beat him in any board game, card game, literally any game ever. I've never beat him.
Or competition.
Yeah. So like,
unless it's reading books. If it's a reading book competition, she will win hands down. I give her that.
Would you even survive? What will happen? I'm going to beat you one day.
I mean, the odds are there that it may happen.
Yeah.
But then again, so is the possibility of the giant quake, like taking
my goodness,
California falling into the ocean.
So as long as we don't compare ourselves to each other, then we're good, because our strengths are super different. And then there's just plenty of things that I'm just way better at than he is, and he's way better at things than I am.
I will definitely say we are both very competitive, and it doesn't bring out the worst in us because we don't have to compete against each other in the same thing. I will say one thing I recognize is she is by far and away the best copywriter in terms of content and messaging that I know. And when I try to go and write or do something, I will definitely say to myself, like, I'd like to write as good as, and try to reach that, but I know that I don't, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So with what you're describing, the vibe, the feeling talking to you is that there's real mutual admiration. And I am an experienced relationship coach. And so I certainly know that when two people have different skill sets and two really distinct, important contributions, that can lead to the experience that the one person doesn't feel appreciated by the other because their viewpoint isn't shared. Does any of that ever come up for the two of you?
Honey?
I'm thinking about it.
I feel like I want to say it does, but I can't recall anything specific.
I think that sort of thing would happen early. We've done so much work on ourselves individually that some of those things would come up when we didn't necessarily have the 30,000 foot view. If we didn't know exactly what was going to work in our business
and the skill sets behind it,
then we would be bumping heads because you have no idea. I'm looking at, so on our wall, we came up with our company values, our family values, and then our growth values. Because we had to have a common language. Otherwise, we would have these disagreements. Like early on, he was like, early on in the current iteration of our business, early on in this iteration, he thought we had a lead gen issue. I thought we had a fulfillment issue. Until we came up with our values, there was no way to determine who was actually right or how to prioritize what it needed to be done.
And I think that we would also early on try to maybe tackle a role that wasn't what we were suited for.
Yeah.
So I would maybe go and attempt something that was more in Sascha's wheelhouse, and Sascha would do something more on mine, until we really realized, and it comes down to trust and communication, that we were able to say, okay, you've got this, and we may have input, we may have thoughts, but you're going to take care of this. And then we can talk about it and brainstorm or see where it needs to go from there.
Oh, more trust. Like once we had the values outlined, then it was definitely me releasing trust.
That was harder for you than it was for me, though.
Yeah, it definitely was. But having trust that even if I'm not in complete control of everything, we're still good.
And I also think that what really helps us, and something that we have in our marriage and in work, is that they're relationships. So everything isn't always perfect. And the one thing that we've agreed upon is that we know we're on the same team. So we can always fall back to that if we're butting heads, if we disagree, if something is going on, whether it has to do with parenting, where to go in the business, what we want to eat for dinner, all of those things.
Yeah.
Did you need to work to get to where you both feel and know you're on the same team?
Actually, yeah, because there's been periods of time where, and we discovered it was like this monthly rhythm of communication would break down. And then do you remember when this would happen? We would hit this point where I don't know exactly what it was, but it was like, I would eventually look at Jonathan and go, okay, you're frustrated with me, but the issue is not me. And then we would like sit there and talk through everything, and then it would all get mapped out.
Yes,
but
we would do that on a regular cyclical basis.
Yeah, and then we got through that, and I'm not sure how or why we broke that habit. Although we did do a few things, like we cut out TV watching at night, and now when the kids go down, we sit outside together and just chat, and we have a rule where we don't talk about minutia. So we attempt every night, and some nights we're just too tired. We're like, okay, let's go watch TV now, or just go to sleep, or do word games on my phone together. We would we like this rule of no minutia, connect, and what's the vision? What are, any cool things we learned or whatever. So making the point to connect nightly instead of, we used to have this disagreement where it'd be like, we don't do enough together. And it's like, well, we have the opportunity every day and we don't do it. So creating some things like that, or pointing out, like we've discovered recently this ability to back way up and go, wait a minute, every time we get in the car with the kids, we're disagreeing. So let's just stop doing that.
So we don't get in the car anymore.
Yeah.
Or you just leave the kids at home.
Exactly.
Since you're in the room with your values written out on the wall, would you share your growth values?
The growth values are rest plus fun plus happy team plus happy clients equals growth with ease. But we had to put rest and fun was at the bottom. And we were told, no, your rest and fun has to go at the top because that's you and your sanity.
Amazing. So happy clients are in there. So those growth values really are in the context of the business?
Yes.
Yes. So those are the growth values for our business.
Yeah. So that's how we make decisions based on like, should we join this program, hire this coach, implement this thing? And then does it fit within those bounds?
Do you have either implied or articulated growth values for your marriage and family life?
Let's look. So we have
we have
our company values, which do kind of mix with I can read them to you. So they're family first, fun, client-centric, integrity, straightforward, solution-oriented, bold, all in, constant growth, rigorous honesty, and complete ownership.
So our family ones only vary a tiny bit because they have the faith piece in there.
But really, they kind of cross both sectors for business and personal and in our relationship. We've both been committed to making sure we're working on ourselves and not staying stagnant and really working to make sure that we grow together and upward.
Yeah.
Well, that definitely is expressed in everything the two of you have shared. Do you aim to compartmentalize, like leave work aside so that you can be with your family, or is it all mixed up like a marble cake? How does that work for you?
I wouldn't say it's marble cake. I definitely have a harder time in terms of just being present, like sometimes with the family, but something I've been working on. But we really do make a concerted effort to, when we're with the kids and family, that's the attention to it, unless one of us has to do something and it's calling out, I need to take care of this, and not disappearing into our phone or onto the computer. Or if we do have something going on where one needs to work and one needs to be, spending time with the family, we navigate that, and we've been learning how to navigate that a lot better.
I would say for me, I make sure that I do focus time on the kids. And then we try, like when it's dinner time or car rides or those sorts of things, to talk with the kids about things, because that was a habit that had to be broken. Was if he and I are like, oh, we're together now, we're going to discuss this work thing, but the kids are there and the kids are getting bigger. And so they want to be engaged. So making an effort to make sure that, like Jonathan and I would love to talk work all day long. But
we also love what we do.
But that doesn't work for the kids. So making sure to, like, I'm not wandering around listening to Voxer messages while I'm parenting, but we do talk about some work things with the kids. Like Jonathan and I had a call today. We back-to-back half-hour calls with our leadership coach. So then our 7-year-old is homeschooled. So she came in and she wanted to know what we were doing. So I was like, oh, here's this mood design exercise we're working on this week. So she watched the video as well. So we do involve them, but then we also, go out and do our adventures, and there isn't work involved.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I believe deeply is that relationship is the ultimate vehicle for personal growth. And so in that context, I ask all of my guests the question that I'm going to ask you. So I'll start with you, Sascha. What have you learned about yourself as a result of being married to Jonathan?
As a result of being married, I almost want you to answer for me because I don't even know. As a result of, so that's the interesting thing, is that for us, we got married, we had babies, and we became entrepreneurs all at the same time. So it's tough for me to know which thing caused which. I will say the biggest thing that I've learned is to really learn and lean into my strengths, that focusing on my strengths or my quirks is what really helps me be more me. Like I've always known that I like quiet time. But once I figured out that I'm truly an introvert and Jonathan is an extrovert, then it's okay. How do I then build in my recharging time for myself, knowing that I have an extrovert husband, knowing that I have kids and a business? I guess kind of protecting isn't the right word, but cultivating the parts of me that help me to show up and grow, the importance of that I've learned. And I will say that Jonathan, oftentimes in marriages, I think women aren't, at least how I grew up, and I would even say how Jonathan grew up, women aren't traditionally encouraged in those things. It's more encouraged to self-sacrifice. So,
yes, of course.
So Jonathan's been really encouraging in, taking care of myself as well.
Destroying the patriarchy.
In our spare time.
Okay. Yeah. And Jonathan, as a result of being married to Sascha, what have you learned about yourself?
Let's see. I would say that as a result of being married to Sascha, I have learned that I am not nearly as perfect as I thought I was.
Wow.
That every day there's a little bit more that I can grow. No, honestly, what have I learned about myself is that like who I was and who I'm becoming, who I was, who I am and who I'm becoming are constantly shifting. And she has shown me that it is possible to become the greatness that you want to achieve by doing the work. I have very often, and I don't do as much of the work nearly as she does. I kind of can coast by and like make gains. But what is fascinating is with her support, with her and I being on the same team, I've been able to think differently. I probably would not ever be saying destroy the patriarchy had I not been married to Sascha and thought to question everything. I'm 10 years older than her, so I come from a slightly different generation too. And so those things have really opened my eyes to questioning the status quo, asking why, diving into figuring things out. And it's been, sometimes it's challenging, completely honest, to have someone that's constantly questioning and to do that. But I feel like you're either like growing or dying. And so by being married to Sascha, what we are doing by intentionally doing it is growth oriented.
I really love hearing you say that. And I wonder, is there a specific moment that was especially influential in awakening you to now talk about destroying the patriarchy? And it's not specifically about destroying the patriarchy, but what you're describing is a very profound shift. And I wonder if there's a specific moment where that happened.
I don't think I would say it's a specific moment, but what I will say is it's been a lot of moments throughout the whole relationship. So we're in a multiracial relationship with multiracial children. And so during the whole Black Lives Matter and all this stuff coming up, I was learning and growing. So there was the shift there, and then looking at our family and starting to question why things are done certain ways. And then looking at my family and, you know, I'm very much, there was a point where, you know, we were doing everything in the business and I was like the linchpin. And if you removed me, it would fall apart. But I was also working super hard, pushing a wet noodle up a hill. And finally, Sascha was like, and she's for the whole relationship, she's like, I'm going to be your sugar mama. And I'm still waiting for that day.
Very funny.
No, but in all seriousness, she's like, you know, how long can you keep doing this? It's not working. And I finally said to myself, look, my ego can be in the way. This way I think that I need to provide and all of that, I can keep holding on to it and we can keep doing the same thing over and over and over. Or, as I firmly believe, things keep repeating, patterns keep happening until you learn the lesson. And it was just, I was open to learning that lesson and I stepped back, and there were growing pains in that because it was something I was used to for 46 years, but it's been a really easy shift. And I kind of passed the baton to her, and not like I didn't do anything, but she stepped forward. And then we also very quickly in that realized that like the best way to do it is for us to do it together. So there are still some things that I probably could have more growth in, but I would say I'm probably, and I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I would say I'm probably more woke than 90% of the people out there.
It was last year, I would say 2020 brought a lot of things to the surface. It's like realizing, well, we need a nanny for the kids, but we don't need a nanny for me. We need a nanny for the family. It was some of those. It was like, wait a minute, why are we looking at it this way? There were definitely things that had to be undone, but it was that constant questioning of why we were and weren't making certain decisions or assumptions that really brought the conversations out.
And I think one of the things that we do, we've always talked about vision and future, but that vision can be a little unclear. We've started talking in terms of what we call our macro goal. And that is where we want to be, whether it's financially or in our business. And then we run it through that filter. And we do that in our family and our marriage too, is if this is where we want to go, every decision we make, is it getting us closer in the fastest way possible to what we want to achieve?
Okay, that is a perfect lead into another question. I feel like I leave my audience hanging if I don't ask this question, which is, how do you do this with children who are 1, 3, 5, and 7 years old? I have a lot of couples who reach out to me who have great relationships, but they have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and they can't figure out how to connect with one another when they're all at home as a family. And I know how I do this with my husband, but I think each couple does it uniquely. And I would really love to hear how you have a juicy marriage, a thriving business, 4 children, and a wholesome family life.
Early bedtime.
I was probably asleep by 7:30 last night.
He fell asleep. Well, yeah, I don't normally mean early bedtime for him, but normally early bedtime for the kids. So then that way.
I thought you meant me.
No. Yeah.
That's
Jonathan
really funny. I thought you meant the kids too, Sascha, but I love that you chimed in that way.
That's so funny. No, the kids normally have a pretty early bedtime. So then that gives us time to connect. I mean, we also enjoy date nights. I think we're going to do one this weekend, but we hadn't done one in a couple of months. But date nights, we've also realized it's like if we haven't connected properly in the interim, then you can get to your date night and be like, hey, I still want to murder you. We're just now at the movies.
Yes. I've never felt that way. I just want to make sure all your listeners understand. I have personally never felt that way. And I'm hearing this for the first time ever.
He's shocked.
My whole world is shook.
Okay, well, let me tell you how I say that, which is in the context of a long-term relationship, everything which isn't sex is foreplay.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So you need to work on your foreplay. I love this.
Well,
quoting that.
You both do, because how you interact day to day does everything in determining how often you're alone in the bedroom with your clothes off and what the quality of the connection is when that happens.
Totally. That's such a nice way. I'm
just confused by this whole clothes off thing.
Well, you just go to bed at 7:30, honey.
I know.
I go to bed at 7:30. I woke up with 4 kids. I don't understand
know how it happened.
To answer your question though, too, it's, we've had seasons in our marriage and our relationship, and I feel like everybody does, but we've learned how to navigate them, or we'll talk to each other. Should be like, we've learned how to say, this is my request. If I need touches, my love language is touch. If I need it, I'll say, hey, my request, or sometimes I say my request, or will you come and give me touches? Or do you have it in you to do this? And that's something we've gotten better at. We work-wise and thriving business.
Do either of you ever say no?
Well, last night she was like, I don't want to, but I can.
Yeah. I was like, give me a few minutes. So it's like, I went and I did a couple of things and got myself. No, you did not. And then I made it into bed and then like rubbed his chest and face as he fell asleep.
After you were touching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like very like, but now we have this, the ability to ask each other. We have a common language.
That's made it easier. Instead of like unmet expectations, we can ask and give each other the freedom to be like, actually not right now, or for the other person to say yes, but give me a few.
And then I think there's also like, if you're looking at the whole picture of things, like, so as you were saying, how do we do this with 4 kids? 2 of our kids, Tuesday through Thursday, go to school at this home. It's a homeschooling in a home, it's really amazing. So it brings us down to 2. And then our 7-year-old homeschools and does her assignments. And then we have obviously the 1-year-old, but we just figure out like who's working when or who's doing calls. Sometimes we both have to work, and our daughter will actually, step in and loves playing mom. Like she is like a 65-year-old woman in a 7-year-old's body. And so sometimes there's conflicts, but like this worked out perfectly because our 1-year-old is now taking a nap. Our daughter is just she's watching Netflix. She's very excited. Watching Netflix. She loves when we have calls like this and interviews, because then they get a little bit more freedom. But we really, has set it up. Like, we don't know what we're going to do over Christmas break, to be quite honest. We'll bring in help.
Handled that.
Oh, we're bringing in help. We're hiring people.
No, I scheduled it all. It's all handled.
Cool.
I know.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just to be clear, we're recording this 10 days before Christmas. So any listener can appreciate that's relevant. Yeah. Okay. So I could talk with the two of you, or quite honestly, ask an occasional question and listen to the two of you keep talking for another few hours, but that's not what we're going to do in this conversation. So I'd love for you to share how people can follow up, and if you're interested in questions about your marriage, business, relationship, or you're just interested in people connecting with you because they might be interested in becoming your clients, and tell us what kind of clients you work with, because that wasn't clear earlier in the conversation.
Yeah. So we work with business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches usually in the online space. And what we do is we help them grow their business and generate more revenue using organic social.
Yeah. Our jam is lead generation. So we can help any business generate more ideal clients. And the best way to connect with us would be in our Facebook group called Unconventionally Wealthy, where we talk about all things lead generation, but also life. I mean, I posted the other day, like, hey, I posted who plans their business around, their monthly cycle. So there isn't anything that's off limits there.
And that was probably one of the most engaged posts that we've had in I don't know how long.
It was really fun.
So if anybody wants to join, it is group.unconventionallywealthy.co.
Yeah, that'll take you right to the Facebook group.
And it's .co, not .com.
Yep.
Okay, amazing. I'm definitely going to join the group after we end this conversation. And I want to thank you both for the generosity of sharing who you are with all of the intricacy and humor therein. So thank you for joining the Intimate Marriage Podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was so much fun. And we just are so grateful to have a chance to share our story and get a chance to chat with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Intimate Marriage Podcast. For more information about Alexandra, her book, and her coaching services, go to theintimatemarriagepodcast.com.